let's call this Environmental Commission meeting to order for June 10th. Let's see, having a call to order, let's have a roll call vote, please. Roll call.
Chairman Myjack,
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson, Member Burdette, Member Tucker, Member Miller,
Here.
Member Delgado,
Here.
Member Nico,
Here.
Alternate Member Young,
Here.
Alternate Member Rosa.
Well, it sounds like we have a quorum. So, with that, then let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Here comes Laura Lee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please let the record show Laura Lee has arrived. All right, next up is the approval of the minutes from May 13th.
I have a couple of things.
Uh-oh, okay. Turn your microphone on.
It's on. I think it's on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me get on the right page here. On page 5 of 253, okay, in paragraph 4, okay, so the paragraph says the Titusville Environmental Commission had additional discussion regarding the motion and stated that the line item would be $100,000, which is what the $2 per capita would equal. That is true, but it's the $2 capita has never ever come from the landscape trust funds ever. It's part of the maintenance, Sandra Reller's, it's part of their budget. It's never.
Part of our requirement.
It's our requirement.
Right.
But the money has always come from Public Works Department's pot of money.
Right.
It's never come out, it has never come out of the landscape trust funds. So then there's one other place. So, Lori, you would just in that sentence, take out the last 4 words from the landscape trust funds, or the last 5 words. That sentence would end after the word equal. Or no, after per capita.
Per capita.
Yeah, ended at $2 per capita, period. And then there's one other place on page 7 where it also talks about it incorrectly. Okay, last paragraph.
Second sentence, make a dedicated line item from the Landscape Trust Fund using
Right,
the 2%
using the
per
2%,
capita
yeah.
to specifically.
So it would
fund.
just say, make a dedicated line item from the Landscape Trust Fund, and take out
The 2% per capita.
yeah, take out using the 2% per capita. So it would say a dedicated line
I
item.
understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but the motion actually stated that.
It did? Okay.
So to keep the minutes true, I
have to
listened to
leave
the
that.
motions pretty
Okay.
much verbatim.
Well, I'm sure you do. You listen to the tapes. Okay, good. I'm sorry I didn't catch
But
that.
I
when we
will
were
say
making the
that that
motions.
motion was denied,
Oh,
because you'll see the roll call is no.
Right,
yeah, we
everybody
redid
voted
the
it down.
motion. So
And then
what-
that's when you guys made a re-motion later on, so.
And was it correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it says Member Nico made a motion to recommend to City Council to establish a budget line item from
Okay.
the Landscape Trust Fund specifically to fund the implementation of the Urban Forest Management Plan, which would include hiring an urban forester and tree plantings. Chairman Myjack seconded,
awesome.
and we all voted unanimously.
So it didn't put anything on the
Yeah.
2% per capita or put a limit on what council would recommend for initiating this process.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it. Anybody else have any other comments on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second from Member Delgado. Any further discussions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Which brings us to petitions and requests from the public.
Congratulations. Congratulations on what happened last night. The urban forestry management plan was promoted and is moving forward. So good job. Bill, Hector, Norlee, and Mike. Okay, good job. And some other people too.
Oh, yeah.
Tonight, I want to just go over two subjects. One is fresh sewage is odorless, that's number one. And number two is water flows downhill. It flows downhill to the legal positive outfall. Okay? Fresh sewage is odorless. That is something I learned first or second day in sanitary sewage. Maybe you don't believe it. I mean, when my grandpa's in the bathroom, it's hard to believe. But fresh sewage actually is odorless. So we have, many times I've called for sewage inspectors to come and inspect a site because it looks like a sewage spill. So they come out there, and they look at it, they turn their head and go away. What's going on there? What's going on there? They do it again and again and again. And Larlie, you may remember, and also maybe some of you all remember, is that I had overheads of sewage coming out, lifting out of manholes and so forth like that. They claimed there was no sewage spills there. So what we have is something what I'm going to call is we are training our inspectors to be dishonest. From the very fact that fresh sewage is odorless. You can't tell by smell. And I don't know if you can tell by visible, but that's my trade here. So that's a terrible thing for me to say, but that's what the inspectors are doing. They are trained to be dishonest. Let me say that again. Our sewage inspectors are trained to be dishonest. Okay, the second thing has to do with water flows downhill. And water flows downhill and it flows to a legal positive outfall. In the case of the city of Titusville, our legal positive outfalls to St. Johns River in many cases are unmaintained, not inspected. It's not sustainable. This is not sustainable. Nobody can do calculations on a blocked up legal positive outfall. They can't do it. And it was brought forward to the city of Titusville when Larlie and Mike were in meetings with city staff. And I brought forward issues about the stormwater master plan. And I've shown you pictures before of the clogged ditches west of I-95. They're not even visible. Many of them are not visible at all. You can't see them. So that's another case that what we have is the city of Titusville has I went to the Human Resources Director and made a complaint against Brad and Eddie about their sustainability report, and Brad confessed to it that he did not include this issue about legal positive outfalls to the St. John's, and he said, he deliberately deleted it. So this was a falsification of the sustainability report, and it continues today by Brad? Well, it was said to put a affidavit in there, amendment. They put it in there a short time, then they took it out. So anyhow, what we have is Brad, Edie, Lily, and so forth doing a sustainability report that is incorrect. And over the years, this has been done for over 50 years at a cost to the city that should have been budgeted in the millions of dollars. This is a serious issue. And so what I'm saying is that regarding sustainability, the city of Titusville is doing what? They're training their employees to be dishonest. Let me say that again. We're training our employees to be dishonest. We're training our employees to be dishonest in that, and also what I told you about sewage inspectors. Any questions? This is my profession. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you have
Thank you,
questions later, let me know. Thank you.
Seeing no others, I do have one question. Do we want to reorganize this so we can get Eddie home early instead of letting him wait till we're done playing with wetlands for another 3 months?
I can make a motion if you want me to.
I would really appreciate that.
I make a motion that we move new business item 8A to be next on the agenda before old business. So Eddie can go home and watch the preliminary to the basketball game.
I can second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, Eddie, you're up.
Great, thank you, Commissioners. This is item 8A, the Comprehensive Plan Evaluation and Appraisal Report, the EAR, which begins on page 31 of 253 of tonight's agenda packet. And I know that the agenda item itself takes up the first 200 pages of your agenda packet, but I promise you the changes are much simpler than that, and I've prepared a little exhibit that'll help us walk through it. Shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. At least every 7 years, pursuant to Rule Chapter 73C-49 Florida Administrative Code, the city is required to determine whether the need exists to amend the comprehensive plan to reflect changes in state requirements since the last evaluation of the comprehensive plan. The staff determined that several changes are necessary to bring the comprehensive plan into compliance with state requirements. In October of 2025, City Council approved the transmittal of the EAR-based amendments to the city's comprehensive plan and send those to the state's land planning agency, Florida Commerce, for review. Florida Commerce completed its review in January of this year and subsequently determined that the proposed comprehensive plan amendments conflict with the application of Chapter 2025-190, Section 28 Laws of Florida, otherwise known as Senate Bill 180, rendering the amendment null and void. Planning staff will provide an update and present revised policy language for transmittal to Florida Commerce. The presentation of this report is a community engagement opportunity associated with the current evaluation period. Enclosed is a presentation that was given to City Council in March of this year, and the presentation summarizes the state's response to the amendments. City Council is scheduled to hold transmittal public hearings on this item on July 14th, 2026. So pages 34 through 156, you don't need to turn to that right now, but that's the bulk of the comprehensive plan and the changes that are being proposed. What I would ask you to turn to is page 157. Page 157 is the first slide of the presentation. It says Evaluation and Appraisal Review EAR March Update. So if you go to the next page, the background on this, public meetings were held last year in June and July, and City Council voted to transmit the EAR to the state in October of last year. The state completed their review January of this year. On the next page, the state found that several of the proposed amendments conflict with Chapter 2025-19 in that some of the policies as proposed were more restrictive or burdensome. That's their term for it. And marked the entire amendment null and void. We have to retransmit to the state. On the next page is an excerpt from the letter that we received from Florida Commerce, and it reads, each county listed in the federal disaster declaration for Hurricane Debbie, Hurricane Helene, or Hurricane Milton, and each municipality within one of those counties may not, and then the highlighted language, propose or adopt more restrictive or burdensome amendments to the comprehensive plan or land development regulations before October 1 of 2027. So the state's intent was to lock in current standards and allow businesses, homeowners to continue developing under the current rules, and at least until October 1, 2027, because of the impacts from those several named storms. And so the rest of the letter reads, for the reasons outlined herein, the City of Titusville's proposed amendment is more restrictive or burdensome, making it null and void. On the next slide, again, we're on page 161 of the packet. These are the three policies or policy groups that were identified as more restrictive and burdensome. The exhibit goes into those in more detail, so we'll skip that for now. On the next page, two policies were identified as potentially more R&B. And so we had a conversation with the state staff, and they explained it as kind of a red light and a yellow light scenario. They said that these policies that have been identified as potentially more R&B are a yellow light, a caution. They said that the city could move forward with adopting these policies, but caution because the implementation of them may result in new standards that are more restrictive and burdensome. And so I'll give you an example of that on page 167. Conservation Policy 1.2.6 says, the city shall develop and maintain an urban forest management plan to support the expansion of the city's urban tree canopy. And that was at council last night. So this adoption of this policy into the comprehensive plan, the state flagged it as potentially more R&B. Again, we can still move forward with it. And in tonight's amendment, we are proposing to continue moving forward with that amendment with the understanding that if this management plan moves forward, adoption of any new standards prior to October 1 of next year will be in violation of state law. And so we can't do that. The other example is on page 168. That's the capital improvements element policy 1.3.6. The city shall consider adopting a mobility plan and fee to fund multimodal transportation projects. So very similar, we're putting into the comp plan that the city will adopt this mobility plan. The adoption of that policy itself is not more restrictive and burdensome, but what may result from that study, that plan, could be. And so yellow light again. So now I'll hand out the exhibit or the little guide. Oh, that'd be great, thanks. Let me go into date, yeah, just in case. I don't think you'll need this, but just in case. Okay, so this exhibit, oh, you have an extra? I'll grab it. So this exhibit highlights the three policies or policy groups that were identified as definitively more restrictive and burdensome. So these are the policies the state said you cannot move forward with your amendment because of these policies and they must be changed. The changes are very, very minor. You'll notice, so on the left-hand side of the chart is the policy number or objective number. The first column is the current comp plan language. The middle column that has a strike through it is what was previously approved by City Council to send to the state and what was identified as more restrictive and burdensome. And on the last column on the right is the proposed tweak so that we can move forward with adopting these policies. I know that these aren't ideal. Ideally, I think what we heard is that we wanted stronger language in the comp plan, but unfortunately, we are bound by that state law and cannot move forward at this time. However, it's a potential future change, and we'll keep a record of all these changes that we would like to make in the future. So you'll see policy 1.5.8, the word require and prohibit. Those were some of the two key words, buzzwords that the state staff, basically they said they do a control F, and if any new policies have those words in it, they're flagged immediately. So to soften that, requires change to encourage and prohibit to discourage. Again, not ideal, but working within our current limits, that's what we're proposing. The next group is in the transportation element, objective 1.10, and policies 1.10.1 through 1.10.5 on the second page. And that was a new set of policies that was being proposed to address access management. And because a lot of the policies mention shall and are providing new standards for access management, the state said this whole group of new policy is in violation. And so at this time, we're proposing not to add it to the EAR. But again, it's something that we're very interested in having in the comp plan, and we will move forward as soon as we can. One of the other things I didn't mention in the slide, in the presentation, it's in there. Let's see what page it is. Page 163, if you wanted to look at that. There was a potential legislative change in the session earlier this year that would have changed the ending date, the sunset date for that law to June 30th of this year. And that would have allowed us to move forward with adopting the policies as previously proposed. Unfortunately, that amendment did not move forward and was not signed by the governor. So we have to wait until the deadline for next year for the sunsetting, sorry. So again, that group of policies are no longer proposed in the current year. And then finally, on the last page, we have the strategy 1.2.1.2. And the word prohibit is what got us flagged on that one. And so the change is to the word avoid. So rather than prohibiting the planting of invasive exotic plants, avoid. With that, what we're asking from you tonight is a motion to recommend approval of transmittal of the proposed EAR as presented tonight for City Council, so we can get this back to the state for review. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Anybody have any questions?
It's frustrating, but it makes sense, I guess, from the way Dave describes it.
Yes. But we're going to hold them all in safekeeping, and when the guardrails are released, we'll put it back in.
I suppose I would make a motion to recommend this go forward to council and accept it.
Bill, did you want to?
Yeah, is it burdensome for me to pay taxes to these people that?
Wait.
Huh?
There's a motion. Do you want to second the motion?
Second? No, I thought you were ready for comment.
No, well, we have to second before we can have discussion. That's kind of the way the
Okay.
rules
I
work.
thought somebody did.
No.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now we can have discussion. Bill?
So it's burdensome for me to pay more taxes to pay their salaries. I'd like to see them removed, the people that voted for this, the congressmen. I mean, what is burdensome? And can we go to the Supreme Court and ask the Supreme Court to make a decision about what is burdensome and not? How far up the chain of law can we carry this to have someone else define what burdensome is?
To Eddie. That's as far as we can go legally.
What, the Supreme Court?
I'm serious. No, Eddie.
Oh, Eddie, that's as
Eddie
far
could
as we
take
can
it,
go?
but we can't. That's not out of our purview.
I mean, let's take seatbelts out of cars. It's too much trouble to put them on and costs more to have them in the car. It's burdensome.
Okay, Bill.
I will add there are a couple lawsuits against this provision pending in state court and administrative courts.
And they are going to take, what, another year, maybe, or so? So about the time the sunset
The wheels of
happens,
justice turn slowly, as they say.
Yes, they. At least it sets, yeah. Thank you, David. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Member Delgado?
One question, Eddie, is the English. On 1.2, 1.2.1.2, the word avoid is used for the first time, not discourage, like it was used before.
Sure,
Is it been used as a stronger meaning? Avoid versus discourage?
No, I don't think they're necessarily any stronger using the word discourage. If you'd like to propose changing that to discourage for consistency, we can do that.
No, I'm just looking for what transcribed within staff to come up with the difference in the front where a lot of stuff is discouraged. And then all of a sudden we come back here on basically the same subject, native plants. And then all of a sudden we're gonna avoid.
So the word avoid is in the current language. If you look at the first column, it says avoid the planting of exotic plants known to create nuisances. So that's existing language in our comp plan today that's being carried over into the new policy.
So they can't complain about it. It's not really a change.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out how we get there from the 1.5.8 discourage.
Sure. So again, that prohibit change to avoid is the smallest change, just to hopefully get this approved by the state. And so again, it's using the existing language in the comp plan that says avoid the planting of exotic plants. But if you'd like to change that to discourage, make it part of the motion and we can bring that to council.
I just wanted it for discussion because it changes from front to back, that's all. But I'm okay with it, I understand what you're trying to do, but I just wanted to see if there was any discussion.
Thank you.
If there isn't, we're good, I'm good.
How about avoid with extreme prejudice?
That wasn't what I had in mind.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
If somebody wants to plant poison ivy, they can.
But they should avoid it.
They should avoid it. So let's go to their houses and plant poison ivy in their yard and see how they like it.
I think it's endemic.
I think it's endemic.
Yeah.
That's another chapter.
All right. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote.
Member Young?
Yes.
Member Delgado?
Yes.
Member Nico?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Majak?
Yes. Very good. Wonderful.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Eddie. You too. Let us know how the pregame stuff goes. Okay, back on to old business of wetlands. It's okay if we do the semi-annual report at the end. We can. Thank you, Eddie.
Bye.
Excellent. Do the best we can with what we have. Right?
Mary Coco, just to tell you, it is now 6 p.m. I expected this to take longer. It is possible for us to get done tonight. I say possible. We will see.
We're ready.
So, okay. We had a meeting yesterday, Willie and David and Brad and I, and we hashed through a few things, and there's been some changes made, so you're going to have to get paper copies, and I emailed it to Lily. Yeah. And so we're going to have these passed out in order. We'll try the first one, which should go the fastest. Yes. Oh, you have them? Oh, you have them all? Well, gosh, I got it. That's great. Sit down. You have from David, right? Okay, now, can you hear me? Okay. Now, this first one we're going to look at is the one-page handout, which is regarding the future land use element, strategy 1.16.2.2, which was very difficult to figure out what to do with. This policy is meant to allow, under conservation land use, if a landowner who has to have a wetlands assessment also has gopher tortoises or other state-listed species on their property, in particular for gopher tortoises, there are not enough sites that can take relocation of gopher tortoises. This will allow a state-approved gopher tortoise
Sanctuary.
Yes, sanctuary. It will also allow, if there are wetlands on the property, there's been a wetland delineation or suspected, if it falls under the category of when you have to get a wetland environmental assessment with a wetland delineation, to set aside with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service approval, sites for habitat for the Florida scrub jay. In particular, we do not know if it's going to be needed because of impacts at, the Cape. We don't know, with the couple of rockets that are pretty darn noisy, impacting the habitat. There's 2 metapopulations out there, and they're both near launch sites. So we're preparing to help these wildlife species if necessary. And it's been difficult to go through this policy and make it up to date, but I think we may have it. All we did, you can read the existing strategy now, which, is pretty wordy. We tried to clean it up and make it less wordy and still do the job.
I think it's good.
So if you can, I suggest that you read the existing policy, and then we'll go over the proposed strategy that is clean, So.
For the audience, I'm just going to go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
The completed one.
Yeah, you don't have to read
Yeah.
the underlined strike through, though.
If an environmental assessment on a specific site indicates the state and/or federal listed wildlife are present or may be present, the property owner shall submit documentation which confirms the presence and potential locations of the listed wildlife species. If the documentation identifies a location or locations on the site for suitable habitat for preservation, and these areas are accepted by the permitting agencies as preservation for the identified species, then the city shall amend the conservation land use to include these areas.
Well, now I just see that there's a hiccup. This is pretty much as it should be. And where's my purse? Did I leave it over there? I left it over there. I have this new laptop. Did you get the one? Is this the latest one that I sent you this afternoon about 4 o'clock? Yep. Okay. What's different?
You're missing an R in the second to the last sentence in the middle.
I have that fixed here.
Was there something substantive that's missing here?
No, it's that documentation should be changed to study.
Oh, you had study crossed out on the first one and wrote documentation as the underline.
Yeah, you know what, I got this new little laptop. Oh my gosh, it's a Mac. Well, the other one was Windows. And I was having a little bit of trouble getting the right file. I thought I did. Oh,
Well,
here
you
it
say the
is.
property owner shall submit documentation.
Okay, here it is. Now look at up here. We'll cross out, I see I got this in the first.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let's just not panic. Okay. What
The
it should
Hitchhiker's Guide to
be,
the Galaxy has
is-
no panic.
okay, is to cross out that first sentence. Conservation, land use is present on a specific site. A property owner shall submit a preliminary environmental assessment, including wetland delineation when wetlands are present prior to any future development. Okay, that's redundant
Right,
because it's already in policy 1.16.2. And then it should say if the environmental assessment and then I put required by policy 1.16.2, required by, policy 1.16.2 indicates that state and or federal listed wildlife are present on a specific site, or something like, If the environmental assessment indicates that state and or federal wildlife listed species are present Oh, I know what I said. If the environmental assessment on a specific site, indicates, if the environmental assessment required by policy 1.16, by policy 16.2, if the environmental assessment on a specific site required by policy 1.16.2 indicates that state and or federal listed wildlife are present within the areas of the site, are present or
maybe present.
may be present. Okay, see, here's the strike through. If the environmental assessment, if you go down to that, maybe we can get it through the strike through. If the environmental assessment on a specific site required by policy 1.16.2, see that in the strike through?
Right.
Sorry, guys, I'm just,
Yeah, go ahead.
this new computer's been throwing me for a loop. Indicates that state and or federal listed wildlife are present or may be present the property owner shall submit an environmental study which confirms the presence and potential locations of the listed wildlife species. If the study indicates a location or locations on the site for suitable habitat for preservation, and these areas are accepted by permitting agencies as preservation for the identified species, then the city shall amend the conservation land use to include these areas. So that is actually what I wanted to say. the strike-through, and I think it may be, I think what I may have been reading was the old language, the existing language is what we do not want.
Right.
And we tried to mark it up with our pencil, so you'll have to excuse me. Your patience is greatly appreciated. Okay, we got it. So what you're voting on is to strike through that first sentence because it's already in policy 1.16.2, okay? And the new language is gonna say just what that clean stuff does. If the environmental assessment on a specific site required by policy 1.16.2 indicates that state and/or federal listed wildlife are present or may be present, the property owner shall submit. Okay, and I see that then we'll go up to the strike-through. Shall submit an environmental study which confirms the presence and potential locations of the listed wildlife
And
species.
so instead of the word documentation, you substitute an
Yeah,
environmental
yeah,
study.
yeah.
That's fine.
Okay,
So we got 3 edits. The required by policy 1.16.2, which goes after specific site, then there, and then indicates. And then we replace documentation with an environmental study to
and we
complete that
corrected the
sentence.
spelling. So what you're voting on is the underlined strike-through because that is what is correct. Phew. I mean, if you want to vote on it. I think that may fly.
No, what we just discussed is still in the underlined section in the middle.
That's what I mean. It may fly.
You
fly
said submit
by.
documentation.
It may be acceptable to.
Okay, wait, just wait a second. We just unplugged the word documentation for
Yeah.
an environmental study. In the underlined section in the middle, you still have shall submit documentation. So it doesn't say an environmental study there either. I think the cleanest one is the one on the bottom with the 3 edits that we have already identified. Adding the R to where R is, adding an environmental study in place
Oh,
of
I see what
documentation
you're
in the
doing.
second sentence, and then doing required by policy 1.16.2 after site and before indicates.
Wait a minute. Hold on just a second, guys.
Adding required by policy 1.16.2 to go after where it says site, after specific site, required by policy 1.16.2.
Okay.
Indicates
what you
that
handed
the
out,
state
right?
and/or.
This here. Okay, so, yeah, so.
So I got 3
So-
edits.
So in this underlined strike-through, Michael, can you go through that again? You said that we're crossing out the first sentence, right? Because it's not needed.
Well, if you're going to modify the middle one, then where you have on a specific site, you have to add after that, required by policy 1.16.2.
Correct.
It's not there.
It is on mine.
It's on both.
On a specific site, no.
It's there on mine.
I don't have it on mine.
So we have 2 different
Copies. I must have an older copy.
And Mary
Or-
might have an older copy too. My copy has it.
Is that the one I handed out?
Excuse me.
As far as I can tell,
I see yours. Yeah, see, I have it here on mine.
you have it on yours. I don't have it on mine.
Yeah, let me, you take
That's
that
okay.
one and I'll get
Here,
it.
you
Right.
can have mine.
No, you can have mine.
I'll raise you one.
Here, anybody want the old one? Recycle, thank you. Let me just update that here.
So I did have one other question.
Yes.
And
Please.
I might just need to be pointed in the right direction. So as I look at this, and I'm looking at the comp plan as well, and we might have changed this in a previous meeting, I don't recall.
Yep.
So it says that the environmental assessment is required by policy 1.16.2. But as I look at the comp plan, the requirement is actually in 1.16, the strategy 1.16.2.1. Is that just kind of semantics that I'm?
No, you're looking at a past document, the requirement is in, policy 1.16.2 of what we have,
Is that-
I see what you're confused about. Of 1.16.2 that we already fixed.
That's what I was asking.
Yes,
Okay, okay,
yes,
good.
yes.
Because I'm looking at the current
Yes.
cup. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. That makes sense.
The fixes that we made are in this, are in our packet somewhere.
Yeah, they are.
In
And
a
I
minute, I'll tell you
apologize,
where they
I
are.
really apologize for, hopefully this is the end of any confusion, because those other documents are more complicated, let's put it that
Okay.
way.
That was 20 minutes. Next.
So,
Do we want to accept this now? Are we ready to make a motion?
It's on page 20, Jason.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion and a second?
Yeah, so my motion is that we would change the language of future land use strategy 1.16.2.2 to say, if the environmental assessment on a specific site required by policy 1.16.2 indicates that state and/or federal listed wildlife are present or may be present, the property owner shall submit an environmental study which confirms the presence and potential locations of the listed wildlife species. If the study identifies a location or locations on the site for suitable habitat for preservation, and these areas are accepted by the permitting agencies as preservation for the identified species, then the city shall amend the conservation land use to include these areas.
Amen.
Is that right?
absolutely, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
shall we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Member Miller,
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson,
Yes.
Member Young, Member Delgado,
Yes.
Member Nico,
Yes.
Chairman Majak.
Yes. Very good, passes unanimously. Another one down.
Okay, onward.
What's the next one?
Okay, we're on to objective 1.1, natural resources. And I'd like to point out that you approved the changes which you informally approved what's on the first page at your last meeting. Yeah, I was up there at the podium. You know, we're just changing environmentally endangered, adding environmentally endangered lands to the objectives. We're trying to broaden them from just listed species. So you can look that over. That objective 1.1. It broadens it to include environmentally endangered land. Okay, in policy 1.1.1, this is probably, we voted to get rid of this thing which required a map by 2012
Right.
of the potential wildlife habitat and sites of the listed species. I don't think I think Lily discovered that it had never been done, and the 2040 plan omits this policy. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay.
And then on policy 1.1.3, The city shall inventory, identify, and define environmentally endangered lands within the city, utilizing applicable data from the state and federal agencies, and will cooperate with the state and with Brevard County in acquiring and conserving environmentally endangered lands to be preserved through acquisition and/or regulations. We added Brevard County because their EO program acquisitions could be very helpful to the city. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Okay, so now this strategy 1.1.3.1 took some wordsmithing by you. You had several suggestions. You wanted we wanted to include on environmentally endangered lands, wetlands 5 acres or greater in size, and crucial adjoining portions of their respective watersheds.
Right.
That took some doing by you. That's your recommendation. And then we separated out natural lakes, lagoon, and rivers. And then Lily had found out that, critical habitats, aren't being a focus of the East Coast, East Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got rid of that. And critical habitats has a weird definition in our LDRs. So we put critical or essential habitats, for state and federally listed species and lands providing habitat connectivity. And that you all decided on last time sounded pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any questions on the first page?
Nope.
Any concerns on the first page?
Do we need a motion? Are we gonna
Not
do it
yet.
page by page, or are we
We
gonna?
can
I think,
do
I
the
think
whole
we
thing?
should
Yeah, the whole thing.
try, I think we should try for the whole thing.
Right,
Okay,
on to 116.
all right. 1.1.4 is the same. There's a little poor word choice in 1.1.5, which was also
Right.
caught in the 2040 plan. The owner/developer of development in the city of Titusville should be the owner/developer of property in the city of Titusville.
Okay.
And we corrected that. And that's existing language. And this is existing language. I did run it by David today. He thought it was reasonable, right?
Yeah, but just looking at it real quick, purchase of development right at the end should probably be rights.
Oh, okay, that's in the next one. We'll do that. Okay. But 1.1.5, yeah, that's, okay, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's go on to 1.1.6. Okay,
We
this.
did, we talked about it. Yeah. Shall I read it and we move on?
Yeah, this one is
Please.
asking, for the city to purchase, if it's economically feasible, the critical habitat,
Maybe green space?
identified by the Regional Planning Council, or,
So I have a quick question on this, just where it
Yes.
says properties identified as environmentally endangered. Do we have a process by which we're identifying them as environmentally endangered, or is that
yes,
just?
correct. we have the criteria here
Okay,
on strategy 1.1.3.1 on the previous page.
okay,
And that is a very good question. That is a very good question because that strategy 1.1.3.1 is extremely important. It's the criteria. And so now what this policy is suggesting, even though it's a little bit out of date, we agree with it. There's some, besides acquiring or protecting this land by purchasing it, there are other ways of protecting these environmentally endangered lands. So we've kind of shortened it. Well, if you like this. And this we talked about before. And David had a suggestion. And, I added something important today. Okay, so let's go through the underline under policy 1.1.6. Okay? The city shall purchase, if economically feasible, properties identified as environmentally endangered lands. The city shall also consider alternate methods of protecting these lands, including easements, land donation. Okay, now here's the new thing. Mitigation bank establishment. This is something that the city's got on its radar screen. And we may be able to really save and improve a large wetland by turning it, that is not in the world's greatest shape, by turning it into a mitigation bank. And I know there's interest on the council for this. So I'm suggesting that we add that in there. To tell you what's going on with the water management district is right now they are not finding these mitigations lands within our county very easily. In fact, almost all the Farmton mitigation bank credits are used up. And so they want, let's say if somebody impacts a wetland in Titusville, they want them to buy mitigation over in the other side of the state. Well, that is not flying too well with some city council members. They want the mitigation, which would be the improvement of wetlands, to happen in the county or preferably in the city. And since we got, quite a few wetlands that may be targets for, the creation of a mitigation bank, the city would appreciate it and the water management district would appreciate it too. So that is why that mitigation bank establishment language is in there, which is new from last time. Then we have transfer of development rights and purchase of development rights with an S. You have to have the S. As David pointed out, we need an S.
Yes.
And other planning tools. So look that over and see if you think that's reasonable.
Any questions, complaints, or shall we move on?
Does that sound reasonable to all of you?
Yeah?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Okay, there was no changes to strategy 1.1.6.1. Okay, so what I did, the protection of, it says priority shall be given to the acquisition and protection of land which are, well, that's a subject verb problem, so I put lands which are identified as environmentally endangered into those areas known to be important as habitat corridors. I just got rid of the
Quotes.
quote marks, yeah. And then this particular provision, environmental value shall be prioritized even where public use may be limited or inappropriate is moved from 1.1.6, where it says, even though public use and recreation may not be appropriate. And it's moved down here and it says even where public use may be limited or inappropriate. So we're covering that base that the environmentally endangered lands, just like the EEL program, the emphasis is on the value, the environmental value of the lands, not on the recreational, potential. It's not whether they can be a great soccer field. And that language was just moved from policy 1.1.6 to strategy 1.1.6.2 because I personally think we got enough to think about the way that 1.1.6 is reworded. That is a very important policy, and we'll just get the fluff out of it and move it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, onward.
117.
Okay, so this was a strange policy, 1.1.7. I gotta say, when I read it, I thought it was, what? The first sentence, you can read it, and I just thought it might be a bit much, and, for a person who just owns a property to, be required for any reason to have a management plan.
I think there needs to be an or after Fish and Wildlife Commission on the end, end of the second to the last sentence.
Okay, wait a minute.
We say the city shall recognize the species as listed by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, National Marine Fisheries Service, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Are we saying species have to be listed by all of those? Which is what an and says. It should be an or.
Okay, that sound right? Okay. Good catch. They might have and, but we're putting or.
Otherwise, I think it's good.
Okay.
So we're scrapping
We're
1171.
scratching out and we're putting or.
Right.
Okay, and now just to make sure you got it, you can see that strategy 1.1.7.1 was where I got all this stuff about the agencies that list species. There's some inconsistencies in their acronym. They mostly use FWS for fish in United States. It should be United States, not United State. Okay, we're putting an S on there.
Do you want to change FWS to USFWS?
Well, okay.
Because,
I debated that, and I looked at how many instances of FWS they have, and they have mostly FWS, but I was gonna, hey, David, do you happen to know if there's a acronym list for these agencies within some portion of the city documentation?
I don't believe there is. I think certain acronyms might be defined in the LDRs, but I don't believe it's comprehensive by any means.
Okay, so I know when I try to go to this IPAC B, with a, oh my gosh, well, it did not work out too well. I got somewhere. I got some listed.
For what it's worth, if you go to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service page,
Yes.
it is fws.gov, and as soon as they start talking about themselves, it says what's going on at FWS. It doesn't say
That's just what I noticed there too. Yeah, that IPAC B, if you can do IPAC B, that would be great. Maybe we can get some idea, that'd be great to bring back to TEC is a list of the, what you can find out about some of these properties in Titusville, because I kind of hit a wall in what I could do. Even with the new little laptop, I tried it because the other computer actually is just almost not working at all.
so are we done with this page?
Okay, so wait, we're
We
not.
added an S and we added an OR.
We're done with that. Okay, so we're done with that. But if you find out more stuff with IPAC B, it might be great to bring it to the attention of TEC, because I was unable to do it. Tried. Okay, so we've moved the acronym list in, the existing strategy 1.1.7.1 to policy 1.1.7. Then you don't even need any strategies after policy 1.1.7.
Okay,
Right?
mostly. We have 119,
As far as
118.
Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, they never call themselves FFWCC. It's always FWC. You go on the computer, my FWC, email so-and-so, at, my FWC dot,
Reminds me of working for
whatever.
National Accounts Register.
Anyway, so,
Never comes
no. This policy 1.1.8 is really important. They got it they have it pretty well written here. That the city shall work cooperatively with, Fish and Wildlife Service and FWC to protect and promote the recovery of species designated by these agencies as listed wildlife species, right? We want that. And we want applicants of a development order to provide determination of these agencies when development proposals are received for sites documented as having historic and current occurrences of state or federal listed wildlife species. It's just that we can't hold up some of the approvals by that state law that Lily
Right.
brought to our attention last time. You
Even if the permit is a state required permit.
But you can't hold up certain reviews, but you can hold up the building type of permit, you know, starting the construction stuff.
The land clearing
Is,
is
that's
the
what
most
you,
important.
you have anything to say about that, David?
Not about that, something else I wanted to flag in a second
Yes.
on the same. For the change from FFWCC to FWC, as far as the acronyms, FFWCC is used elsewhere in the comp plan, so for consistency, I think we should keep it as the longer acronym.
Okay? We can handle that, right? Okay, and what about U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service?
Most of these other acronyms are only currently used in 1.1.7.1, so no inconsistency issues. But FDEP and FWCC are used elsewhere.
Okay, so I'll change all the, okay, so I'll change all the FWCs to FFWCC. Okay, change all. Okay, we'll do it. Not a problem.
Shall we move on to 1.1?
And then, okay, so, the city shall consult with these agencies for technical assistance consultation as appropriate. I mean, does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
And
They
then
both
the
do.
city shall cooperate with these agencies in locating potential introduction sites for designated species.
Yes.
Okay, now, we know for a fact that they don't just do it on conservation land. We know that those gopher tortoise, sites they're looking for private land as well, so we got rid of. Okay, now. Okay, so then policy 1.1.9 is not been changed. You can read it over.
I thought we got rid of the management plan.
Okay, the management plan, so we now think that they're gonna have to interpret management plan as a plan that is approved by one of the agencies. Isn't that right, David? And we decided,
That would be confusing.
The management plan language in 1.1.9 reads like it would be a city-required management plan. It's a little bit vague, but very flexible, and through discussion, we didn't see a big reason to get rid of it, even though it doesn't seem to do a lot of work currently. It just kind of has some future options it leaves open.
does anybody have any questions for him? Because, I mean, we are very lucky we have an attorney here. And, you know,
Do we need to define this management plan? What it contains, what its requirements are? If there's any tasking?
I think the found acceptable by the city kind of takes care of some of that. It would be more of a negotiated plan, it seems like, rather than binding either party up front to some
I see.
prerequisites.
Is
I
that-
think
that
the
more
flexibility to me
palatable?
seems kind of like the benefit to it.
this is actually the exact language in the technical manual.
Mhm.
So it's not, this is not the only place, this language. It's repeated almost, it is totally repeated in the technical manual, environmental technical manual, part 2.6.
Well, flexibility is good up until a point.
Yeah.
You know, it can be too flexible and then things can get flipped inside out. So I don't know, it seems like having a plan to do something or having some some set
See,
of
what
requirements
was
would.
required by state law, and I tried to find out, but I did not find out. But that law that Lily handed out last time, do you happen to have that, Lily? Or, you know, that one, oh, thanks. There it is. It says, that a municipality shall attach, issuance of a development permit or development order by a municipality does not create any right on the part of the applicant to obtain a permit from a state or federal agency, and does not create any liability on the part of the municipality for issuance of the permit if the applicant fails to obtain requisite approvals or fulfill the obligations imposed by a state or federal agency, or undertakes actions that result in a violation of state or federal law. Well, that sounds like the state might pass. Now, listen to this, though. A municipality shall attach such a disclaimer to the issuance of development permits and shall include a permit condition that all other applicable state or federal permits be obtained before commencement of the development. So I don't know if Titusville does this. You know, I tried to find out, but I didn't find out, you know. You know that email I sent Lily, you know, and I was hoping that.
The section 30-32 criteria for removal. That was about trees.
Oh, this is about, see this here.
No, I know what that, I'm saying our discussion is about, when we're talking about when can development be cleared.
Yeah.
We have the criteria for removal.
Right, right. But then what I wanted to know also was whether the city includes this language in their development permits. Yeah, we did talk about that as well. You're right that we did talk about that, but this is another topic, right? Okay, so what would you like to do about policy 1.1.9?
Well, the problem that I witnessed when Mr. Parrott came before us back in 2015, 2017, I forget. This was some 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, after we had that building bubble burst in 2008, and they had stopped building in the back of Sterling Forest. There were several lots that were platted and cleared. But in the 7 years or however many it was, the gopher tortoises had moved back in again. Well, Mr. Parrott came and complained because the people were building and burying the gopher tortoises on these cleared lands. And what we found, we even had a TEC meeting on the property out there and had fish and wildlife conservation biologists come and visit us. And what we ended up concluding was that the city had granted the permit years earlier, and there was no requirement whatsoever for them to go back and get another permit. So they simply buried them. And before we arrived for our meeting, Mr. Parrott had gone and planted flags, you know, like line flags all around wherever there was a gopher tortoise hole. He identified 117 on just 4 quarter-acre parcels. And they were almost all juvenile. They were all little. And And they threatened to take Mr. Parrott away for trespassing because it wasn't his land. So that showed me that there's a problem with the way our process works, because while we indicate here that we need to have these permits in place, they don't stop the initial action that allows or permits the land clearing to begin with. And by state law, we can't.
You can, yeah. Because maybe we should, this is what this says, that, you know, all other applicable state or federal permits, you know, shall be obtained before commencement of the development. So you could,
But there's a state law that says otherwise,
no.
that we
but-
can't hold up the development because we don't have a state permit. Am I wrong on this, David?
So you're both citing to the exact same paragraph. It's not a model of legislative clarity. The way it reads to me is that you can't hold up the permit process, but you can restrict the actual groundwork and development until other permits by state and federal agencies are obtained.
Okay.
So you have to allow the application and the processing of the
Sure.
permit, but then the actual site work, it appears to, like I said, it's not very clearly written, can be held up based off other permitting.
Okay.
So that's what we should be putting in there maybe, you think?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we
so-
need to make that clear.
You know,
What I found out was that in Volusia County, they were able to stop that or prevent, or not, what am I trying to say, to have the permit executed based on other factors, particularly the soil type and the habitat type of the parcel. And what they did was, if they found the soil and habitat type crossed for a gopher tortoise or a scrub jay or an indigo snake, then that was when they initiated the survey, the requirement for the survey to prove that they weren't there, as opposed to, you know, show me they are there. And that flipped it around for them. And I thought we could do something like that here. That to me would make the most sense.
you know, I worked on this language and I had an option for doing this, but let me run this by you. When one or more individuals of state or federal listed wildlife species are found on a site undergoing development activities for which no management, oh, okay. Undergoing development activities. Let's just say, when one or more individuals of state or federal listed wildlife species are found on a site undergoing development activities, said activities shall cease until all applicable state or federal permits have been obtained.
So you're taking out the words
That's on
management plan and substituting
No,
permits?
she's
Or
taking out for which the
I
management plan has been
don't
adopted.
think there is a management
I
plan.
don't, yeah, that's
Right.
my, I mean, you,
Yeah, I
the
don't think
only
there is one.
reference we had to a management plan was in, policy 1.1.7, and we struck
And
through
struck
it.
through it. Right.
Yeah, and,
So what-
and to top it off, in the 2040 plan, they struck through it, but they didn't strike through this one. So, tell you what, David, why don't you look at this?
So do we want to
Here's the
strike the
law,
management plan
and-
again and put permits?
Let's get a legal opinion.
So
If you
the
want to.
proposed language here, I don't know if it would actually solve the issue, because if they're at the stage where they're already undergoing development, like it contemplates in the first half, they would presumably have already obtained their state and federal permits at that point.
Which would be fine. They've
Well-
already got their permits.
Okay,
Well, the language that Mary just proposed would be that said activities shall cease until all applicable state and federal permits have been obtained.
Right.
But if they've already obtained them, that
And-
doesn't hold them up any then.
Okay,
Well, right, they've already got them. So if they have their permits, then they're good to
but how
go.
do we know they have them?
My question is, if they've already gotten their permits, how did they ever even get to this point?
We see, that's a thing. We don't even know they got their permits because
They're state driven,
that
not
state law
local.
says that, doesn't it say
Yeah.
down there that, you know, the city should tell them they need to do it, but it doesn't create any liability on the part of the city for issuance of the permit if the applicant fails to obtain requisite approvals or fulfill the obligation imposed by state or federal agencies. Maybe, so, I agree, we need to do something about this.
Well, but
So what if you said, when one or more individuals of a state or federal listed wildlife species are found on a site undergoing development activities, said activities shall cease until the owner produces the permits and proves that they have the permits.
but who's the cop?
Well,
Who plays the cop?
that's what staff is there for. Staff is making sure that they're following the comp plan and that their application meets all the criteria. This is one of those criteria.
But no one, I go clear land, nobody goes there and says, show me all your permits.
No,
Mr.
but before you go to
Parrott,
clear the land, you have to go and get your permit for land clearing. And before you can actually clear the land is where we're trying to step in here and say, well, wait a minute, before the land's cleared, let's verify that there aren't any endangered species. That's my understanding. At least that's my desire.
So how can we
it
change
says
this process?
undergoing activities, so they're already clearing it.
Yeah.
That's what I was seeing. Like, this sounds to me like they're already developing it, they're already clearing land and everything else, and then a listed species is identified. Like, after the activity has already started.
Well, instead of undergoing, we could say slated for development. Just change the, instead of undergoing.
So again, I go back, who's the cop? It's the city
Yes.
cop that says,
Well, it could even,
bring me all of your permits and all your wildlife, from all the institutions, and then I will issue a permit to clear. Is that what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because that, I don't think that's done today.
well, it could be reported just by an individual, a neighbor.
Right. Anybody can report.
Anybody can report that they've seen gopher tortoises and scrub jays on a piece of property that's slated for development.
When the bulldozer shows up?
Well, that's what we're trying to get there is before bulldozer shows.
I thought that when a developer goes in and requests permits to develop on a piece of property, they already have to determine whether there are endangered species on this land or not. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So-
See, they.
So how did we get to this point then?
Yes, they're supposed to get all their permits or the clearance or,
Or a
you know,
bunch of
finish the
shotgun shells and
consultation
5-gallon
process.
buckets. They use the shotgun shells to take out the scrub jays, and they use the 5-gallon buckets to drown the gopher tortoises. I've seen it. They do this before they bring it out so that when the property is inspected, oh, there's nothing there. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it over and over again. It's unfortunate, but it happens. There are unscrupulous people, and we have to find a way that we can hold them to what the state statute and the federal statute say. And I think Laura Lee was heading in the right direction after said activities shall cease until what? What's the criteria? The criteria is that the state and or federal species are being managed, I would assume, in some way.
I feel like that's where I was
Right?
kind of trying to get in my mind. Sorry. That's where I was kind of going in my mind, that once, if they're identified, the work stops. Then either the species have to be relocated
Right.
or some other course is taken to protect them.
Or they get a take permit.
Yeah.
They have to
Or they
mitigate.
relocate them, right, or they develop their own mitigation bank on site.
I think all of these, or this, or this, or this, are kind of the benefit of the flexibility of the management plan acceptable to the city language. Those are all then conditions that could be site-specific that the city could require as part of that management plan.
But are we
That
doing,
makes sense to
are
me.
we doing this, though?
So then we just leave it as it is. Said activity shall cease until a management plan has been prepared by the developers and found to be acceptable by the city.
Is there any example of this happening?
I can't speak to that. I don't know if.
That's
really-
what, okay, so, a couple of weeks ago, I tried to send by email
This is
this
supposed to
question.
prevent that.
And I didn't get anywhere because people, actually, I'm not sure who all saw it. I know he saw it, and David saw it. But people, like, let's face it, Brad and Lily have been at conferences, and this is just, like, I didn't get a response from somebody who would know, for example, about, this management plan stuff.
It's not this one. Remember when I sent this, and you're asking what the stop order was? Did that not answer?
No, it didn't. I read that email, yeah. She tried, let's put it that way. Lily tried. Let's give Lily credit. She tried. It just was a little bit of a different question.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting confused on
Yeah.
the question. Like, from what Mary and I are talking about, just contextually, she'd asked what are the criteria for specifically removing the trees, going in there, cutting it down. And I had spoke with our arborist. And
I know,
Yeah.
yes, you were thinking I was referring like to, the tree clearing. That's what it
Well,
was.
you asked at
Yeah,
what
and
point
I
can
was-
they
yeah,
go in? And there's
yeah,
a section in our code, 30-32,
Yeah.
I believe,
Yeah.
that lists all the reasons you can go in and
Right.
begin clearing. There's also a separate section for when, so all of the site approvals can continue, and then we wait for the site permit to be issued at a separate time. It's a separate step. And that's actually when they sit down and talk and have the construction meetings and.
But by then, the land is already cleared, correct?
Right, if they can follow.
That's too late. That's the cart before the horse.
Chapter, I would recommend
I know.
maybe reviewing 30-30, the 32.
Yeah, I know that, yeah, that I'm familiar with. I was,
That's in the LDR, though.
yeah.
That's below this.
That's
This is
not
a level
criteria.
above
Yeah, I
that.
know, I was referring to, I guess I was thinking of habitat that might not, be, loaded with trees and stuff like that, whatever. Yeah. We're talking about, gopher tortoise stuff, more sandy beach type.
Right.
Yeah,
And the-
so that's good information for sure. That is definitely good information, and keep that in mind for future reference, because it's definitely a time to look at that language.
David, I have a question about this. The way we have this written, it says when one or more individuals of state or federally listed wildlife species are found on a site, then development activities will cease until we develop a plan. These federal and state listed species, their requirements, are they not? That if they are
Okay.
there, then they have to be managed. Is that not correct?
I'm not intimately familiar with all the contours of the state requirements or federal, but generally, yeah, I mean, at any rate, you have to not undertake a take of any listed species, which includes harassment, damage to the,
So
I mean,
can we
there's a
not
portion, sorry, go on.
I was just saying, so can we not rewrite this so that that's what we're saying here? Before that first bulldozer goes through and cuts a path, or they're allowed to clear the first quarter acre or percent or whatever, can we make sure that these federally listed species requirements have been met, and either they prove they aren't there, or if they are there, they come with a plan? Isn't that what we're really trying to say here?
So I'm looking up right now, City of Titusville, Florida Code of Ordinance, Volume 2, Land Development Regulations, Development Review Procedures Manual. And on 6.1.5, it says an environmental component including maps and analysis which determine the effect of the proposed development upon the conservation, preservation of native habitat, wildlife, floodplains, and so on. So it looks like the procedure's in place, but it's just not happening. So it's in there.
But again, that's at a level below where we're working.
True.
We're defining like the vision, and that's the tasking. We need to clarify this sentence so that we make sure that all state and federal species have been dealt with properly and a management plan developed.
Isn't that incumbent upon the city, though, to make sure that that's done when the applicant comes in, though?
Right now, I think it's incumbent upon the applicant to say, oh, yes, I have endangered species, or no, I've taken care of that problem already.
But I think if an applicant's not environmentally conscious, they'll go the other way.
They may just ignore it
Ignore
and
it.
say, I don't even know if they're there. Like, I keep asking you about Brookshire, because that was a property that 25 years ago, we fought to keep a Walmart from moving there. And we brought, what's the guy's name from the University of Florida, the tortoise guy? I'm drawing a blank on his name. Yeah, he did. But he came down, Ray Ashton. Dr. Ray Ashton came down. He's the one who found and produced and showed that we could actually move gopher tortoises. We could relocate them safely. And he proved that and became the advocate for that. And he came down here and we found 83 gopher tortoises on that parcel of land. And yet when they went in and built Brookshire, I heard nothing about anything. Different developer, different time. Nobody's looking at it. Who's the police, as Hector said. So this one, I think we really need to focus that these policies are met before that first bit of soil gets turned.
So I think in a lot of the changes you made on the prior pages, prior to 1.1.9, there were aspects strengthening needs for environmental studies, and I think those are the more appropriate places for stronger language getting at what you're getting at as kind of the pre-permitting stage, and this seems to be the only post-permitting backstop that's in here, so I wouldn't want to see you remove the backstop at the expense of trying to strengthen the prior provisions.
Well, then I guess the proposal is then for this one to change undergoing to slated and remove for which no management plan has been adopted, so that it reads, when one or more individuals of state or federally listed wildlife species are found on a site slated for development activities, said activities shall cease until a management plan has been prepared by the developers and found to be acceptable by the city.
But if you say that, then saying that the activities shall cease doesn't really make sense because they haven't started yet.
Say, development activities cannot start until.
See, I think I'm reading this from a different timeline perspective of what
Perhaps.
you guys are, because I look at this and I think that this is a protection for when they have started clearing land, and whether it's the developer being honest about it, or if it's a concerned citizen that walks by the property and says, I see a gopher tortoise. They can report that to the city, and then construction stops until those species are properly dealt with.
I think the appropriate analogy as far as timing with this would be if you start excavation and start digging up some bones, and kind of then an archaeological analogy. This is once you've kind of started the actual undertaking of the development, and then you discover something during that process. So it would be post all the permitting.
That's the way I read this.
To not commence, huh?
Okay.
So we're back to what I said originally.
Pretty much.
You can't do what you don't know. So we have to tell them. But when I built my deck, I was going back and forth and with the drawings and stuff, and the city said, oh, did you follow your county form? I said, what county form? So I looked at all the paperwork they gave me. There was nowhere telling me that I had to do that. We need to tell them to do that.
So not commence or shall cease immediately if they have commenced.
How about if we say, when one or more individuals of state or federal listed wildlife species are found on a site undergoing development activities, said activities shall cease until all applicable state and federal permits have been obtained and a managed, wait, that's not gonna work. We want to get something about the management plan and the state or federal permits. That's what I think we should have. I think we should beef it up to, to say that they need a management plan to deal with this right now. What are they gonna do now that they got this problem? And that needs to be acceptable to the city. And all state and federal permits shall have been submitted to the city, or something like that. That they need to turn in their documentation, that they got these permits.
Well, I assume
Well, wait a
that
minute, how could they, on second thought, if they didn't know that they had the stuff, why would they be getting these permits?
Exactly.
Exactly, so that's why it should say all said activities shall cease until all state and federal permits have been
Satisfied.
obtained and a management plan has been prepared by the developers and found to be acceptable by the city.
Boy, that sounds good, doesn't it? Boy, Laura Lee, what do you think that sounds really good, David?
Well, I don't know, Bill's the one that came up with the word obtained, and that is really the key.
All right, so let's see.
They will throw that out, right?
I still like slated for instead of undergoing.
Yeah, but see, that's different from this. Jason said, he sees this as, they start and all of a sudden they find an eastern indigo snake,
Right.
So they weren't expecting to find that. They might have been horrified.
I think we're more concerned with the developers coming in and trying to build out without doing any reconnaissance or figuring out if the land has any environmental protection. So this is a situation that you described, like if there are bones or something in the land that they didn't know prior to ever clearing it. So this is a situation that I don't think we are the most qualified, or this isn't really within our wheelhouse. We should be talking about the developers who are coming to try and develop without getting a permit to protect the environment.
Well, that's what we are talking about.
This just seems like a special situation.
Well, sometimes special situations are holes that need to be plugged.
Well, and I don't necessarily see this as I don't want to assume your meaning. When you say special situation, I hear that as like something that doesn't occur all the time. But animals move.
Right.
New gopher tortoises are born, they walk around until they find the little piece of land they want to dig into, and then they dig in. So I look at this as maybe the developer did everything they were supposed to do, they did all the surveys, they've done everything right, but then that shovel goes in the ground, and oh no, there's a gopher tortoise now that wasn't there before. Now everything has to stop until that's dealt with. That's how I read, that's how I interpret this. And that's why the undergoing, I think, is vital there, because this means that just because you had a permit before saying there was nothing endangered there, doesn't mean that that's still valid now. You have to stop, and maybe the state gives you, or maybe whoever the permitting agency is, gives you permission to go on or relocate that one animal or whatever else, but it puts the brakes on until that can be ground truth as to what is actually there now.
It's all about, again, timelines. Is this before the shovel goes in? If that's the case,
I don't think it
then
is.
it's very then it's very weak. If it's afterwards, and somebody came in and say, here are all my permits, and here are all my investigations. Oh, and by the way, we did find a turtle yesterday. That's where this would go, timeout. If that is what we're looking for, because there are two looks to that same paragraph. One is to bring the bulldozer and start moving it, or the bulldozer is already working based on the fact that they brought all this information and the turtle overnight across the street, along with the chicken,
Which they do.
which they do all the time.
Sorry.
And then you can put something like this that says, thou shalt stop. And we'll relook. So, to me, that's the coin that we're flipping. So which side of the coin?
As
Do we
as
feel
much as I
comfortable?
know we were wanting to get through this stuff tonight, I feel like this policy needs to have more time put into it. I think just the fact that we're all kind of looking at this from a different timeline perspective and everything else, I think it needs more time.
Oh,
Can-
you know,
can I
we could
say
do
something?
that. We could do that. We could,
And we
what
just
you
leave
could
it as-
do is look at everything but, you know, adopt everything but this policy and say we're working on it. And then we'll go on to the conservation element, if you don't mind, because
I think
I'm getting a
that's,
little bit of,
Yeah,
I think that sounds, and we'll investigate in the meantime, the three of us.
Just for the record, I'd like to read what I have as amended for this one, for our
Okay.
minutes. So, as I understand it, when one or more individuals of state or federal listed wildlife species are found on a site undergoing development activities, said activities shall cease until a state and federal permits have been obtained and a management plan has been prepared by the developers and found to be acceptable by the city. That's what I have as our current amended.
Well, you know what? You probably need to ask the people if they think that that's good, because,
I think it sounds good, but I don't think it's quite there personally.
I agree. This
Yeah.
is, I'm just,
No,
reading
and
it so it's in our minutes for next
Yep.
time and we can talk about it
Absolutely.
again.
Agree with you totally.
I
Yep.
just did not want to lose the and state and federal permits have been obtained, because that's the hook that I think we're looking for.
okay, so,
And maybe
okay, so you have, when one or more individual state or listed wildlife species are found on a site undergoing development activities
then scratch for which no
for
management
which no
plan has been
management
adopted.
plan has been adopted.
And then back to said activity shall cease until all state and federal permits have been obtained. And a management plan has been prepared by the developers. This is new. They came in, there isn't anything there. They started developing, oops, we found something. Now we got to put a plan in place.
Tell you
That's
what.
this is saying.
Lily, do you think
We need to go
you
back
might
and
be able
figure
to
out how to
make
get
a
it on the front
copy of
end, too.
what Michael is proposing? You got it written down, right?
I have it written down.
Do you think
and I read
Lily
it
can
into
make
the
a
record.
copy?
Yeah, it's in the record now.
It's in the
so
record now, so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
she'll get
Lori
it.
will transcribe
Lori
that when
will-
she
will-
goes through. and
You
does
got
the
it, okay, so.
But I do
so-
have a question for David in relation to this, because this is on the back end. Where do we work to fix this on the front end so that these permits happen before the bulldozer? That's
I
all we're really looking for.
Don't
here.
have an immediate provision I can point you to. It's something
Right.
we could certainly look into, but I think that would require holding up the rest of this until another meeting.
Well, that's what we're thinking, is we're probably gonna just punt this 1.1.9 to the next meeting, and then that'll give perhaps you some time to help us figure out where we can fix the other half of this. This catches it on the back end, but I'd like to get it on the front end. I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah, I think it would be right up front, you know, up close to objective 1.1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we got enough, you know, ammunition by the state law, this one sentence about, you know, The issuance of development permit shall include a permit condition. This is city permits. The issuance of development permit shall include a permit condition that all other applicable state or federal permits be obtained before commencement of the development. So we may have enough ammunition. We can work on this.
You might be able to add it to policy 1.1.5.
Yeah, and we can look into adding it in different places. Yes, because that actually, I was looking at that one too.
Yeah, I think that's a logical place to put it.
Yeah, we may be able to, so we'll look at that one too, 1.1.5.
Yeah, and just add a sentence that says, because they're already required to perform an environmental study. So if they find listed species, then they have to get the permits, before they can be approved for their site plan.
That's what it seems to say.
Well, it doesn't say it exactly.
No.
We can certainly work on language for that. I think that exact proposal would run into the issue with us holding up our permitting process in relation to state and federal permitting, but I can find language that accomplishes kind of what you guys are getting
wonderful.
at.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. If you don't mind, we'll just go through the last two things, and then you can decide if you want to tentatively approve this as, without those two, to have policy 1.1.5 and 1.1.9 reviewed again at the next meeting is, but we'll get all the other ones checked off as, first of all, 1.1.10, the city shall protect existing natural reservations. Why it says that? Including recreation and publicly protected conservation lands according to strategies set forth in recreation and open space element. That's ridiculous. We don't want soccer fields in these lands. That's my opinion. And then this last policy is something that they probably had nowhere else to put. And this type of provision is also in the county, language as well. So it's just nothing to worry about. It's, a provision for if somebody damages an area and they need to take responsibility for, fixing it. That's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just that I looked at various places where that might be. It just looks like they plopped it in here.
All right.
So,
If I might summarize then, what we've worked on here with objective 1.1 for natural resources, we've made several recommendations along the way, and I think we're all in pretty much agreement with them. There's just a few tick marks and a couple edits. If we take 1.1.9 and 1.1.5 out, should we not just vote to make the recommendations that we've already covered so that we can move on with this and call this part done?
Do we have to read them all into the record, or are we okay with just saying that,
Well, Lori, what do you need from us? What makes it easier for you to pull this together in the end? Oh, well, we're conscious.
A suggestion I would make personally, just because we have had not only some changes like you mentioned, but also just like some minor grammar fixes and things like that. I would propose that we table this, and then next meeting, this like corrected thing comes back, and that whole thing can be submitted to Lori as part of the motion, if that makes sense.
It's going to have to come back anyway.
Yeah.
You have your TEC motions and recommendations page. If you want to make a motion, I can just add what you've already talked about at all of this, so that document would just get longer. And I have, when you go back, because you've done this for the flu policy too, when you go back and make edits, I just make a little parentheses saying motion made on this day with edits on this day and this day. So if you want to keep working it, I can take that motion and just put that in the TEC's recommendations page, if that's what you want to do. Okay.
Okay. So the only thing that I had was in 117 was changing the "and" to the "or" and adding United States Fish and Wildlife Service. That was the only,
There's also the transfer of development rights.
the rights, yes. All that stays the same. Yeah, we're gonna keep the FFWCC. So those are the only alterations. Shall we entertain a motion to move forward with this?
I'll make a motion that all of these changes and grammatical corrections that we've made on the different policies in Objective 1.1 Natural Resources be added to our list of approved changes, with the exception of policy 1.1.5 and 1.1.9, which we'll have further discussion on next month.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussions before we move on? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Member Young? Yes. Member Delgado?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson?
Yes.
Member Nico?
Yes.
Chairman Majek?
Yes. Good. Progress.
Okay,
Conservation element, 1.6.
I would like to do that if you don't mind, at least start it.
We got time.
All right. I know this. We're getting, we'll show we're cooperating. We're trying to get it done, right?
Yep.
You got that handout, and, okay, she's got this handout for me. Wait a minute. This is not this one. It's conservation. Okay. Okay, so, this, strategy 1.6.1.1, in order to fulfill a recommendation in the natural resources plan, we are going to put something about no net loss of wetlands. And here's the reasonable place to put it, is the protection of wetlands shall be determined by the functional value of the wetland in order to achieve no net loss of wetlands function. And that is a reasonable place to put it, in my opinion. Okay, does that sound reasonable? All right, let's go on to something that's gonna be,
Well, is that the functional value is defined by the river management districts? The eight-step criteria, which includes whether
I'll
it's
tell you
navigable
something, this is a
or...
little bit of, okay, we need to check the box on our natural resources plan. Some people think no net loss is just a little bit on the ridiculous side because we're, how they count it. I happen to be in that category. But we will check the box. They want it, no net loss, fine. What happens is that there are conditional uses for for impacts to wetlands, in particular, the larger wetlands. And the conditional uses that are reasonable are access to uplands on the property, so they could develop the uplands. Access through the wetlands to the uplands. This, okay, this was used in not only Verona, but the
Huntington Park
yeah, Huntington Park. Huntington Park.
had to build a causeway
Because
across the
they had,
wetlands.
yeah, and they only impacted 1.8% of the conservation land. But it was not like a residential use. It was providing access. And this is in order to give them property rights. I think that that's a reasonable conditional use that have to be voted on by the city council, but they could certainly ask for it. And also to provide utility right-of-way. You know, that would be the underground cable. Sometimes they have to run through a wetland, you know. So those are the conditional uses that I think are clear-cut and reasonable.
I just have one problem, and I don't understand the relationship between the protection of wetlands and their functional value. Whether they're high-functioning or low-functioning, they're wetlands. And wetlands, I think, need to be protected. So why is the protection a function of its function as a wetland? That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay,
If you're
well-
gonna protect wetlands, you're gonna protect wetlands.
Okay.
You're not gonna
The
protect it
functional
halfway.
value, that's a state, you know, yeah, you know, this is a long, you know, an old requirement, probably back to 1988 of the state, and, you know, we just, yeah, I don't think I think that, you know, you're picking the wrong topic to get into because we won't make any progress with that. This is state law.
So is this strictly access and utilities? So
That's what I
can-
propose, because here's the thing. What they had in strategy 1.6.2.1, which I got rid of, or proposing getting rid of, it says, in addition to the permitted land uses identified in the future land use element, conditional uses may be considered as provided for in the land development regulations with criteria based on the mitigation policy of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which is not an appropriate thing now, but it says, as a minimum, the criteria to be considered for approval of a conditional use shall include, and this is old language, I think it's got loopholes in it, and you'll see why. That's why I changed it, so something clear cut. Is the use is ecologically sound? Well, that might be fine. Use is water dependent or water related, and there's a documented public need. Yeah, this might be, okay, the use is at least environmentally damaging alternative. I mean, really, you know, somebody could propose something really bad and say, oh, it's the least damaging, because I could have done something far worse. That's ridiculous. I mean, and this is old language, and we never envisioned, you know, the problems we're having nowadays with trying to save these huge wetlands. It says, and then number 4, which we got rid of in the future land use element, there is no practical alternative to ensure reasonable use of the applicant's property. remember Lieberman, you know, that's the 405 MAR. You know, they wanted to impact 5.42 acres of that wetland, rated an 8, which is the best rating that, you know, Mayor Diesel had ever seen in the city. And they just said, oh, well, I can't build enough apartment buildings on my upland, so I need to impact, and it's not reasonable for you to deny me the amount of apartment buildings I need to make money. That's ridiculous. See, that's why we need to get rid of this strategy 1.6.2.1.
Well, aren't they allowed to basically fill in 1.8% of their
Yeah, but that's
property
not
anyway?
5.42.
Right.
That's what we're proposing. We're
Right.
proposing that they can impact 1.8% for residential use, but
And that is an
but that
alternative
is
to
not-
give them reasonable use.
yeah, that we try to get them reasonable use in the future land use element, exactly. But we're not giving them exactly everything they want. And we're not giving them an excuse to say, hey, I want more because you're being unreasonable. And having this just at the whim of the elected local government officials, and we know the city council makeup is is changed from time to time. And we cannot put our large wetlands in danger. We cannot say, oh, you can argue that you have no practical alternative to ensure reasonable use of the applicant's property. We've given them something reasonable in the future land use element. But let's not give them, then on top of that, the chance to say, you guys are being just plain unreasonable. I can't make money. Right? And then, the mitigation stuff on number 5, well, whatever. But I looked for loopholes in it, and I found one. And I thought that the only conditional uses, and I looked at the ordinance, and the only conditional uses I could see that look clear-cut were the access to uplands, which the county has in a certain policy, and the utility right-of-way, which you'll see all kind of utility right-of-way through Tosahatchee, for example, wildlife management area. So that's, and I am thinking that this might be acceptable to staff. I am hoping. I think we got a pretty good response yesterday that people understand about why we would propose getting rid of there's no practical alternative to ensure reasonable use of the applicant's property. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go on to the next page. We get an overview of what I'm doing. Okay, so you know about the wetland maps. You know, strategy 1.6.3.2 is the key, the absolute key, and recognized by the state is the absolute key to our wetland protection. That at a minimum, wetlands 5 acres or more in size shall be designated as conservation land use. That's it. And then wetlands less than 5 acres shall be subject to review to determine what protection, if any, they should receive from development. And such a review shall be based on the functional value criteria specified policy 1.6.4. And then, if based on this determination, protection is warranted, then development may be permitted based on criteria set forth in the environmental performance standards of land development regulations. That has not been done much in the ordinance. That is a future project to take care of these small wetlands if somebody wants to, but it is at a lower level than the comp plan. So that is not a subject we're covering with the comp plan. But we are covering the criteria for the functional value assessment. And some of these mirror the state law. Size, that's our key one, and the state knows it. It's a 5-acre cutoff. You know, you'll have greater protection if you should have good protection if your wetlands 5 acres or greater in size. And then the smaller wetlands, we have the opportunity to do more with the ordinance. Has not been done in the past, but that's a topic, you know, for, not for the comp plan, it's for the ordinance, and we're not going there. And you'll see I changed capacity for floor storage to flood storage.
Yeah, we don't need to store many floors.
And then you can read that. I think it's pretty.
I was wondering if we need a number 9 there. Because I like that you added proximity to the IRL or the St. Johns River, but should drainage to the IRL or the St. Johns River also be a consideration?
Yes, we could put proximity. Should we put and drainage, or should we put?
I think it should be separate.
Okay, drainage to the Indian River, okay. Great idea. Because the proximity could cover some of the, you know, sea level rise stuff, and then drainage to the.
Yeah, drainage
How
is
do
the
other
issue.
people feel about that?
Well, drainage is the issue that we have with the lagoon. You know, it's not just the poisonous amounts of fresh water, but it's all of the stuff that it carries with it, right?
Or should we just change proximity to drainage? I think maybe we should have
Proximity
two.
to and drainage into the Indian River Lagoon and St. Johns River.
Well, they're two different things.
They are.
I mean, you've got, for example, all of the stuff, the Chain of Lakes, you know, properties are very, very close to the St. Johns River. But the wetlands on the other side, you know, that are over by 405, drain to the Indian River. I think their drainage should be considered. I mean, this thing says consideration of. So proximity is very different than drainage.
So would you suggest like proximity to the Indian River Lagoon or St. Johns River, and number 9, drainage to the Indian River Lagoon or St. Johns River?
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
Is everybody, Michael, you have to find out if everybody agrees with that.
Anybody have a complaint or problem with adding? No? Okay, I think so too. So we're all in agreement, we need a number 9.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. Because you know it's a problem.
Well, that's in essence, the problem is the flow, right? If we
Yeah.
could just figure out how to recover all of that water, you know, make it into forever
And
water.
what you can do is you can go into the land development regulations and you know, write some code for it. I mean, this is not the object of this comp plan stuff, but once we get this in the comp plan, you know, you need to be thinking about getting it in the ordinance.
Yes, LDRs to follow.
And, okay, so 1.6.5, here's a loophole. I mean, in my opinion, I can just see some of the activities whose impacts are assessed to be minimal. Okay, I mean, anybody can say their impacts are just minimal. And they could be, you know, that's a subjective judgment. Or offset by mitigation measures. Well, they have to be offset by mitigation measures. Shall be addressed in the land development regulation and use the following criteria. Okay, the activity is necessary to prevent or eliminate a public hazard. That's a subjective, I'm just getting rid of the subjective, oh, I got, you know, what's a public hazard? Or the activity would provide direct public benefits which would exceed those lost to the public as a result of the degradation or destruction of wetlands. I mean, that's a little subjective too. Or the activity is proposed for wetlands whose functional value is so limited that the loss does not significantly affect the public interest. And you know how some of these developers will say how horrible their wetlands are. In fact, we got this big sob story about Lieberman where they, you know, even though it was a 8 on the UMAM scale, the highest the mayor had ever seen, yet we had the applicant crying because there, well, I can't say crying, but he was promoting the idea that there's so many invasive species that some people actually bought this argument and started to sympathize with him and thought, well, his plan is great. And I thought to myself, man, I've seen some exaggeration in the past 30 years. But luckily, Joe Robinson was not buying all this stuff. Okay, so you see why I got rid of that?
Okay, yep.
Okay, so now here's where we come to, this is something, there's not very much more left. All you guys one more page, so.
Right.
I'll tell you what, we'll come back to this. We're going to go through the last two, and then we're going to come back to this one because it's about the buffers.
I love this.
Yeah, I like
Okay, so 1.6.6, that is new. First of all, we got rid of mitigation for unavoidable impacts to wetlands which possess significant functional values determined by functional assessment will be addressed in the land development regulations. Well, that's the job of the water management district, right? They're supposed to do the mitigation. However, if you know, let's say the city establishes a mitigation bank. The city can also, if I can have your attention.
Yeah, I'm just noticing what you've got up there and what I have in my hand are not the same thing again. I've got an older version. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, so does they need another paper? Here, why don't you take this one up to him?
I've got it. I've got it. I'm reading it
Okay.
right now.
You got it?
We're good.
Okay, so, okay, okay, let's go through the policy. Establishment of wetlands mitigation bank within city limits will
Thank you, Lord.
be addressed in the land development regulations. I mean, this is something new we could do.
Right.
Mitigation banking by the city shall be coordinated with state regulatory agencies to achieve optimal participation by applicants required to provide mitigation. What that allows is if a wetland is impacted in another city, they can still, if Titusville has a mitigation bank, they can still get mitigation credits in Titusville, and that will mean that our wetland is improved. That's a mitigation bank.
So we'll be receiving those funds.
Yeah, you'll be receiving funds to enhance the mitigation, in efforts on that wetland. In other words, to improve that wetland. And what's happened is, some of these wetlands banks, they've received all these mitigation credits and they got their wetlands in really good shape now, so they're kind of out of business. And this is what happened with Mary A. And, now they say the Farmington's just about done with theirs. They've gotten so many requests. And to top it off, I've got to tell you that if you establish a wetlands mitigation bank, Titusville could, in addition to that, in the LDRs, and I didn't put it in here because I think it kind of needs some more thought, but the water management district does not require mitigation for wetlands less than half an acre in size. Well, Titusville sure could. They could require monetary compensation, which is what the county does. So their county's collecting money. Let's say you have a third of an acre wetland and you get a permit to fill it, okay? Well, the water management district might give you a permit to fill it, but they're not going to collect mitigation fees on it. They're just saying, oh, it's too small, we'll just not bother with, collecting mitigation fees or getting mitigation credits. Well, so the county steps in and says, you want to do this in the unincorporated county? You need to pay us. You need to give us, some mitigation, which I believe they accept in cash. And we do that too. So that would be a little.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so you could do that and you could put that in the land development. Regulations, but as I understand that this mitigation, for unavoidable impacts to wetlands, which possess significant functional values determined by functional assessment, will be addressed in the land development regulations, was thought necessary to keep because of the idea of mitigation banking. Well, let's get more direct about the mitigation banking. It's something that's needed and the city might want to try it. So we can put that it's, that will be addressed in the land development regulations and the city can go from there.
Can we
if they wanna
strike the
do
word wetlands?
Pardon me?
Can we strike the word wetlands and just say establishment of a mitigation bank within the city? Because it could be a mitigation bank for gopher tortoises, which as far as I know, don't like wetlands.
This is a wetland section,
I know, but
but I would not want to mess with, put gopher tortoise.
well, I'm just
Well,
saying,
okay, what I'm saying
there's
is.
other kinds of mitigation banking
Right,
besides
right.
wetlands.
Yeah, but this is, if you want to do that, we tried to address that in the conservation element,
Right.
and actually in the future land use element, so that, this can be done in the city, even in conservation land.
Understand.
Or-
I'm just saying, why limit it to just wetlands?
Because
Why-
this is a wetland section.
It may be the wetland section, but a mitigation bank can be broader than just wetlands.
I agree with that. Nobody's arguing with
David,
you.
is there any reason why we would need or shouldn't?
Generally, the kind of hierarchical nature means that any of the underlying strategies and policies have to match the overarching top objective, which is specific to wetlands. So keeping it wetlands here would be appropriate. If there's somewhere else that we want to explore putting other mitigation bank language into, there's better places for it, but it has to kind of all be hierarchically consistent.
Okay, I'll withdraw.
Okay, so, this is policy 1.6.7. Try to write this thing so that it would sound legally correct, so David can look at it. monitoring shall be required to ensure that all mitigation consisting of preservation and maintenance is documented by deed restriction or conservation easement executed in favor of the city of Titusville remains legally compliant. In other words, we can inspect, what has been, is now the city property, under deed restriction or conservation easement. We'll let him look at it, see if he thinks it's reasonable.
To bring up Hector's question from before, who's doing the monitoring, the policing?
Well, okay, that's just what we're,
I'm sorry. Thanks for participating.
thanks, Jason. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I said, be careful driving around.
Yeah.
You got a bad headache.
Yeah, indeed.
I asked at the beginning, he said, that's just how it was. So, it's fine.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Okay, so we
Good.
only got one thing to do now.
Accept it?
If you need someone to do the presentation to city council, I'm happy to do it again.
Oh, great. All right, great, thank you.
Okay, so, and we got 3 minutes, and we'll try to do it. All right. What we have, it's difficult. The water management district usually takes care of the buffer requirements when there's wetlands impacts or, some wetlands permitting required. They take care of a buffer requirement. The city has, now, you might think the city of Titusville has no buffer requirements. That is not true. And we can postpone this until next time too. I think we may want to. But the technical manual has a requirement for vegetated buffer strips. It says vegetated buffer strips shall be created where natural systems are used, retained in their natural state along the banks of all watercourses, water bodies, or wetlands. The width of the buffer here's the thing. The width of the buffer shall be sufficient to prevent erosion, trap sediment in overland runoff, provide access to water body, and allow for periodic flooding without damage to structures. And care must be taken not to harm the functional value of wetlands and transitional vegetation. I'm thinking, if you want to just take postpone this till next time, see if we can get some buffer requirements based on the technical manual, then we can do that next time along with that the other things, because this is something new and we can't take over the water management district's function. We already said we don't want to, we'll defer to the water management districts on permitting. Now, when the water management district is not involved, such as, a buffer that they don't require, then we can step in. Or if the wetland is less than 5 acres in size, we can step in and ask for that mitigation. The city can do that. But we can't, we got to do the land use planning in the city. We got to do land use planning, not permitting. So what we want to do is stay out of their hair And so this thing says, in the event wetland buffer specifications are not part of a regulatory permit, then we're gonna go in and see what we can do about this buffer. And so that's the last topic here, and I don't know if you wanna try to, okay, what else is in here and, put that one off.
I can make a motion.
Please, go ahead.
All right, I make a motion that we approve all of the different things that we talked about, the strike-throughs and corrections, with the exception of, policy 1.6.5.
We did that one already, and 1.6 point.
Well, we struck through this, but we're adding this language
I see.
about the buffers, right?
Right.
So it would be the 1.5 replacement language.
1.6.5 replacement language.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else did we want?
Adding number 9.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that would be, I mean, we all agreed to that. That's covered.
Yep, yep.
Maybe, come to think of it, maybe we should just, in case, anybody that's looking at this, not you, but thinking whether did the TEC do a good job, maybe we should say we'll defer the topic of policy 1.5 until next time. Because then she would not be writing down that we struck through all this and we didn't know what to do instead of it.
Okay, so I'll amend my motion to say that we approved, well, change the 1.6.1.1, 1.6.2, 1.6.2.1.
1.6.5.
No, we're gonna wait on 1.6.5. Policy 1.6.4. And I think that's it, because we talked about waiting on the mitigation bank discussion until next time also, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or we can just wait and approve the whole thing next time. That might be easier.
Well, it would be nice to have a clean, unpricking through copy to work with next time, rather than all the strike-throughs. And
Well, that's true.
so I have a motion. Do we have a second to approve what we've done so far? Yeah, I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
So can I ask, okay, so what you're doing is you're saying that you approve everything under policy 1.6.1,
Right.
everything under policy, that we have marked under 1.6.2,
Right?
1.6.3, 1.6.4, that includes all the.
Right, and
Right.
plus the
And-
elimination of strategy 1.6.2.1. I forgot about that.
1.6.
Well, I'm saying under that, so, yeah. Lily, does that make sense to you? Because you're gonna have to, so you're approving all the changes on the first page, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're approving. Yes. And then you're approving 1.6.6 and 1.6.7.
0.7, right.
No, I
It-
thought we said we were gonna wait on those because we were talking about mitigation
Disengage, right.
banks.
No, I think,
think
did
you're
you not
okay?
approve this mitigation bank things?
I was the only one that objected on 1.6.6, and I found that to be wrong, so we're gonna leave it as wetland mitigation.
Oh, I see what you wanted to, yeah, but,
So I think we accept it as it is.
Okay.
as written. Mhm. Yeah, we're going to review that again next time so that we can amend it and make it work with 1.6.6. At least that's what I understood. We all good? Bill, you okay?
This
Right.
also included 1.6.7 or no?
It included 1.6.6 and 1.6.7,
Okay, thank you.
and we will readdress 1.6.6 along with,
1.6.5 you readdressed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, we can bring it
1.6.5.
back, but it'll clean the copy up that we're working with and make that easy.
Yeah.
All right, Lori, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Nico,
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson,
Yes.
Member Delgado,
Yes.
Member Young. Yes. Chairman Majek.
Yes. Okay. And the rest shall be tabled to the next meeting? Is that what I'm gathering? Do we have to have a motion for that too? Or do we know that we just need to put wetlands on the menu next time? Okay. All right, good. Good. So now we're up to the semi-annual report on our agenda.
So if
And
you go to-
Jason said to me as he was leaving that he would be happy to present it if nobody else wanted to.
Yeah, your semi-annual report is on page 199 of 253, and if you have any changes, you can let me know. Otherwise, this will go on the July City Council agenda during the TEC Commission meeting.
I have a couple of things.
Yeah.
So on, in the last line of the fifth bullet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the word be should be by. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it starts out, summary of bulk edits to future land use policy 1.16.2. That last line, it says decisions be removing, it should be decisions by removing.
Oh, yeah, I see it. First line above the fifth bullet.
And then the other change, and I think we have room to fit it in, it looks like there's room at the bottom. Member Miller is the chair of the Environmentally Endangered Lands Selection and Management Committee. It's a big deal.
That's a very big deal.
I think he should get credit for that.
So just change the Member Miller, who is also the chair of the Environmental Endangered Lands Committee.
Yeah, I would say,
Selection
yeah,
and
who is also the chair of the Environmentally Endangered Lands Selection and Management Committee.
Yeah, write it out.
And then on the last sentence, it said, I later organized and hosted a bus tour for the EELS SMC committee. You can just use SMC because you've already spelled it out at the beginning.
Right.
But that again, that's the most important committee of all the committees of EELS.
Where, sorry, are
Very
you
last.
changing Vice Chairwoman Thompson?
Later organized and hosted a bus tour for the eels.
SMC committee.
Right.
And other than that, it looks great, Lily.
I thought it was excellent. I didn't even catch those. Anybody else have any recommendations? No? Okay. So are we going to accept this presentation and whom, and by whom, I should say? Do we want to? Yes.
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Okay. What's your motion? And turn your microphone on.
Said, I make that motion. I worded it last, you do this one. You get credit this
Well, somebody needs to approve the topic here for our report to city council.
I make a motion that we approve the excellent job that Lily did on our semi-annual report.
I'll second that. Done. Now we have something to talk about. Any other recommended changes? If not, then I guess let's, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. So now the question is, who's going to give the report?
Jason said he would get it. He
Jason
gave the
said-
last one and he did a
gave
good
the
job.
last one.
Yeah.
You'd like to hear from him? Okay, then we will allow Jason to, seems to be the consensus, so I don't think we need to vote on that. No, he did a good job last time. He's a good speaker. That brings us to petitions and requests from the public present. I think we warned them all out, unless Mary has something she would like to bring additionally. No. All right, then we'll move on to member reports. Bill, anything to say?
First and second report, okay.
Turn your mic on.
Yes, turn your mic on.
Usually I do that. My report is, I'm going to be taking a trip, so I'll be not here in July and August. So I thought I'd let people know. Do I have to have permission, or
It's best if you ask permission of council.
can you ask permission that I can take July and August off?
Yeah.
Do I
if
need
you
to do it?
email
Do I
me-
need to go to the meeting?
No, technically it's just 3 consecutive meetings that you need an excused absence, but you're also an alternate, so I think it's different for you as well. But if you want to cover your bases, you can email me and I can have it in writing.
There you go.
It just goes on the consent agenda
Yeah,
anyway.
they just,
So I would do it, just to make sure.
yeah, and then if you miss a third meeting, then you'd be out, you know, so,
Okay.
yeah, go for it.
Oh, stay it now?
No, you can send it.
Oh, so an email to her. Well, I usually get an email from her that says, am I coming to the meeting? And I say yes or no, so. So I can write one just for that and send it to her.
You sure
Okay.
can. Yep, that's how I do it every year.
Then the other thing I want to say is, I was part of a meeting, so was Lily, about I don't know if we should talk about that Rollins College thing or no? We can?
Yeah, now's the time.
Okay. Rollins College was doing, for Cape Canaveral, seismic vibration and noise test. They have a professor there, I forgot her name, Whitney. And she was doing a study in Cape Canaveral, putting sensors on 7 buildings to see what the vibrations of the missile launches were doing to the buildings structurally. And we got hold of, I forgot how we got hold of it, but I got hold of it and she got hold of it. We had a little meeting with her, and she's interested in doing more and making us part of it. So Louis was going to check into that, and I don't know where that is, but I just thought that I was part of that meeting and Mike was part of it. And years ago, 20 years ago, I did some putting solar powering on some sensors, and I started digging through my old files. Mike sent me one of digging out how I did it before. So, but this Professor Whitney has been doing it for a couple of years and has experience, and so I'm not sure how we want to interact with that or how the city wants us to interact that, but I just thought I'd bring that up, that it's something that's, my house shakes every time, even when the trains go by. My house shakes because it's up on blocks and it's 100 years old. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. It's just, there's always something else taking my money and time. So so I might be part of this, I don't know. But I thought I'd bring it up that we may look at that, because there's other things that happen. You know, it shifts the land and changes the water flow and things like that, that the vibrations, how it impacts the land can be important to us. So I think we brought that up, talking about the pollution, because they also, she's also measuring the air pollution and environmental impacts. So she has sensors for the physical and for the chemical reactions. And she's supposed to give them a report the end of next month to Cape Canaveral, and it's whether we want to be part of this in the future and move forward. Because we've talked about this before, about the pollution coming in. And then we had that explosion.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that.
And luckily the wind was blowing that way, not this way. Okay, so so there is something going on that this may become a reality besides us just talking about it.
Right.
Okay, so that's the two things I wanted to bring up.
Thanks for going to that meeting.
No problem.
What I just would like to share today is I've been here in Titusville for 4 years now, and I drive by Sandpoint Park, and I'm just really excited and delighted that that has really come together so beautifully. I'm really proud to live in Titusville and to go over that bridge and what it used to look like before and the kind of energy it used to bring before, how it's dramatically changed so far. I'm really, really happy for this. So thank you for everything you all have done as a community to make this happen.
Hector?
No, this time I'm good.
Oh, come on. We got to talk about this explosion. 2.5 on the Richter scale over in Clearwater.
Yeah.
And
And good thing the winds were blowing out to sea.
a good thing the winds were blowing out to sea.
Right.
When I had my conversation with Whitney, she seemed interested in expanding her scope of measurement. And I think personally that we should direct City Council to start a program to start measuring. I think for maybe 100,000 or 150,000, they could put up a couple dozen sensors, maybe 30, and span from causeway to causeway, basically, and measure. Think of it like a web. We want to measure that entire region, and we do that by putting sensors divided across the space. So both vertically and horizontally, we need to measure seismic on the ground. We need accelerometers above on the air pressure, for the windows and things on the top of the building. There's a couple of things that probably ought to be done. But having a monitoring system in place that monitors regularly when these things happen, we will be able to then figure out what's going on and what needs to be hardened and what doesn't. I talked with Lily and David about this during our meeting last week, and I think the correct position to move this into is into emergency management, not under environmental. Because it's gonna, if something were to happen, say that 8-story building, the assisted living facility, were to come down because it was undermined by a seismic rift, that would put the city at risk, serious risk. So our understanding of what's happening, the only defense that we're gonna have is what we put up ourselves, because nobody over there is looking to protect us over here. And I'm sorry, I keep looking away from you. That's not fair. But that's what I think we need to come up with something, and maybe we can put it on the agenda for next time and talk about it some more in depth. But I really think the city needs to find a way to protect itself. Maybe it's nothing, but it might not be nothing, in which case it could be something serious.
Well, did she go to the city, other people about this yet? You did? What do they do?
We're mostly just exploring. I reached back out to her as well to see if for like a follow-up call with more internal staff. She's traveling for the next 2 weeks, so when she gets back, probably start conversations again.
They're on summer break, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lily, what I would like is to see if we can get a copy of her report.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I would like to see the parameters. I would like to see the distances. And then the compilation that she does with the local environment that happened on the day that she took the measurements. I'd like to see that whole setup. Okay. We have a different view of the same thing. They have a north-south view, we have an east and west view. The pads are east of us. They're not east of Cape Canaveral. They sit differently. The plumes sit differently. So therefore, I would like to see her data and just see what she got. And then I think from there, we can start assuming certain parameters, if that's what we need to do. Okay, but what I'll leave you with is none of our insurance that we have on buildings, broken glass is covered by a launch. None. Now, I'll give you another data fact. NASA has never paid for a window in Brevard County from any launch that NASA has done.
Not even in the 60s?
Not even in the 60s.
How'd they get away with that?
They didn't. Nobody filed a claim.
Jeez. Oops.
Okay, so, and I'll give you another one. What we're facing is we're facing a rocket that we have never launched in Brevard County. So the only data that we have is what is happening in Boca Chica, Texas. And that's the only way that we can put apples to apples and not apples to carrots. Okay? And so we need to look, that's why it's important to look at how she gathers the data. I'm somewhat skeptical of the pollution data. Okay? Because again, they're not facing the pollution. The pollution is not going their way. So I don't know how she's doing that. So I have a lot of questions, technical questions, because we can do the mesh that Mike was talking about to measure, but it's got to be for our exposure,
Right,
not theirs.
Well, that's what we talked about, was she was gonna team with us
right.
Okay, so.
and supply the report when she's done
so
for
very
their.
important that we get a report so we can look at.
Right.
We got time. I mean,
Yeah.
Starship is not flying until December at the earliest. Artemis is not flying until beginning of 27. So therefore, the big bangers are not going by. I don't know if Blue Origin is going to be ready to launch this year due to the fact that the pad was blown and they have to rebuild. So therefore, that remains to be seen. So all you have is a bunch of Falcon 9s and small stuff, which that's just good data gathering and a few shake and bakes along the coast, but it's not going to be comparable to anything that we're going to see come December or the first quarter of 27, which is where we're going to need the data.
Well, I have a question for you, that NASA has 27 weather stations that do environmental
They do.
checkings.
Yeah.
Can you get a hold of those reports to see what
We can-
impact it had on them?
We can probably see what they're collecting because, okay, so let's keep in mind what's happening. We're launching from pad 40 and 41 and 40. Pad 40 is on the Air Force side. It is not on NASA side.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so let's start with that. Go back to my boundaries. And so therefore, I don't know what their measurements are. I know we have measurements at the pad, we have measurements outside the pad in some of the old camera stations on Playa Linda. There may be some measurements there.
Well, I have a report from the 27 stations because I helped solar power them 20 years ago.
Okay.
But that report that I have was 20 years old.
That's 20 years old. That has changed dramatically.
So whether they changed them or modified them, or, I don't know what they've
More
done
than
with them
likely they
since
have-
then.
I can tell you more than likely they have, because I don't have reference to 20 years, but I do have reference after that.
Aren't all those systems around at the gantry? You have
No,
39
no,
A
no,
and
no.
39B?
39 A and B, okay, do have some measurements, but they're more for their own knowledge. Okay, there are some measurements for earthquake or seismic around the VAB.
Or lightning?
Okay, the lightning is not gonna bother you.
Right.
Nothing's gonna happen with the lightning that you don't know about. Channel 9 and Channel 2 has better lightning than probably they do at the Cape. You know, in terms of knowing Now, if we get a direct strike, we got tremendous view of what the lightning is. But we do, remember, human flight has a 25-mile radius. Satellites have a 5-mile radius. As long as the lightning is within those radiuses and the balloons are coming back and the mill fields are within a certain parameter, you launch. That's the extent. So therefore, that's what you have.
So if you want to see one of these weather stations, just take Highway 528 across to the port, and there's 2 of them on that bridge.
And they are, but they may be for temperature and,
Yeah, I don't know what, so
okay,
I know is I
most
put
of
solar on
those
them.
are on the bridge. Okay, so all of us watch TV, and sometimes you see Titusville is blank. They don't have a temperature for Titusville, and everybody else has a temperature. And that's because one of our weather stations on one of the bridges, especially Maxwell Bridge, which has a weather station on the north side going east. And that's basically a little bit of wind, a little bit of temperature, and that's it. You won't measure anything else. Okay, and then that gets transmitted. Also, the local airports, they do send in their temperature to the TV stations. Okay, but sometimes you'll see Titusville's blank, a lot of nights. We're not reporting. So, but going back to the data that is gathered by these people, I would like to see that and see what we got before we go shopping for anything.
I wouldn't,
No, she's selling, but
she's going to share all that. She wants to share all that and do more work.
I'm sure. So anyway,
Shall we put this as a future agenda topic for the?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
You need a
the
motion for
question.
that?
do we need a motion
need
for
a
that?
motion?
I don't know if we need a do we? Oh, say we need a motion,
Yes.
all right.
Well, we need to do a follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we get the data, and then we need to have some time to look at it.
So let's have a motion to put it on the agenda, and next month, we'll,
Don't have the, like, report by then, because I don't know when it
It's okay.
publishes. Do you still want it on the agenda?
Yeah, you will tell us.
you want to discuss it even if you don't have the report, that's the question.
What are we gonna discuss? We don't have the data. What are we
Let's get a copy
Well,
of the
this would be
report
after
first and then
that.
move forward.
You know,
We move forward when we have the data.
Right.
I reckon.
and then we'll see what kind of budget, if any,
Right.
we need to do.
Maybe we go panhandling, selling bird on a stick or something.
Well, no, maybe we can do half-acre things like the county does and charge for the water. You know,
Sure, so maybe a motion for, to put it on the agenda when the report's published or received?
Yes,
To
so
talk
we can
about
discuss it.
definitely, right. I think we need to do that, but with the data that we're getting is nothing like we're gonna be seeing.
No.
So we need to have data from Boca Chica, and I'm hoping that she will get some of that, so we can overlay the data and see how it will behave on our side of the street and her side of the street, because it's different.
Yep. Any other topics that anybody would like to propose for the agenda?
Yeah, one last thing.
Yeah.
Guys, I look out my balcony and I see a bunch of little rays, very juvenile. Is that, what's going on there?
They're probably cow nose rays.
Yes.
They have a
I-
long whippy tail
learned
and
that from
and
you
a
a long
little
time ago,
blunt
right.
face. Yeah, those are, they come up in the estuary and use it as a nursery. I mean, sometimes you can stand on the bridge and see hundreds of them going.
No, I know.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
It's just that
Cute.
the last few weeks,
Uh-huh.
it's been very active. That's
Uh-huh.
why.
Very good. Well, hearing no other agenda topics, then we are adjourned.
Nope. Actually have, well, I wanted to just announce that the city is getting more involved in outreach opportunities through the chamber, local events, things like that. If we wanted to streamline and systemize that, I know Laura Lee brought that up in the past on what it is we want bring forth and talk about at these opportunities. I attached your natural resources plan because there is actually a sizable portion in that plan that's just titled Increase Public Education and Outreach Throughout the City. So there's a series of things there. I believe there's at least 3. If you want to make that a strategy, that's another thing you could check off your natural resources plan as well, or talk about, how you want to approach that. What sort of things do you want to try to accomplish at those outreach events? I can also put that on your agenda for next time as well.
That'd be good.
It's going to be every Friday, the 4th Friday, I believe, of the month. We can consistently rely on potentially having a tent for the city at the Chambers event, and then other events that you want to attend. So like we did the Enchanted Forest, anything.
And where is that at?
That's in downtown. It's at the Welcome Center.
Oh, by the sales?
No, that's the market. You could do those too, but there's also the Chambers, that big yellow building right next to the Pritchard House, that parking lot. They're
So
doing events
you'll
there.
email us and let us know? Are you gonna set up the tent and we can come hang out with you? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm more asking like, what do you, for a strategy, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to have printouts? Do you want to have a sign-up sheet? What do you want to educate them on? And if you do decide you want to go, I do need to advertise it because you are under sunshine, so I have to do that within a reasonable amount of time before you meet. So whereas the level of commitment on these outreach events, I'm just something to put out there to potentially, we can discuss it in your July. I can make it an item.
That should be an agenda item.
Yep.
Has anybody been to that? I was there when she was there.
Yeah?
I couldn't make the last one.
Who won?
I think so.
So, yeah, so if that's okay with you, we'll put that on your agenda. You want to make a?
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
The more the better.
And then my last part, I did want to announce, we did, now that I have an intern, so something on the back burner, we put up a how to get involved page on the website. So there's a lot of things people ask me, and I can send you a link about that as well if you want to go through it and see if there's other opportunities to get involved. I try to be comprehensive. I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff, but if you guys want to put input, I included the boards too, so people can know to
When
get
are we
involved
going to
with
start
boards.
working on stormwater and flooding?
That, I did reach out to Vinny, and he said August. I think he will be on the agenda for August.
Okay. That'll be a start then.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
I think that's everything.
Anything else? David?
No report.
No report. All right. I guess we're everybody. Lori, any report? No. All right, then we're officially adjourned, I take it.
Sorry, the future agenda items portion.
Yes.
I know I touched on it in the report, and I'm
Right.
not trying to draw this meeting out, I swear. But the stormwater and flooding, that was Vinny's, the outreach effort, that will be on the next agenda for July. Litter and waste strategies, I don't know if you guys want to do anything with that at this time or just keep it under future agenda items. The bylaws was a section brought up when you had talked about remote meetings. And then hazard mitigation was sort of the catch-all when we were talking about
All right.
eliminating hazard risk for the launches. That's kind of why that's there. So if that's anything you want on the immediate next agenda, feel free to let me
That'd
know
be
now.
up to you, because you'll be chairing the next few months, so.
No on litter.
Okay.
That's pretty straightforward.
If Vinny's gonna do the stormwater thing, and we could probably,
That's August, though.
huh?
It's not until August.
That's August,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I want to finish the wetlands
Yeah.
and do it right. So I don't think we need a bunch of extra stuff on the agenda for next meeting. Let's finish up what we're working on.
Okay, so no outreach efforts or,
You can put it on, and if we have time, we can talk about it
okay.
and include
can I-
the information in our packet.
Yeah.
Can I ask
These-
a
And then
question?
Sure.
He's,
Michael?
It's in July. Yes, Mary.
Can I ask a question? Lily should know this. Okay, you know, I've written the rationales. I would like to work on rationales for what we have approved in the conservation element and finish up all the rationales, and you can review the rationales. We need, from what I understand is that staff, once they feel comfortable, is going to, you know, put this in the hands of city council. Is, do they want to, you know, get this approved and put on the back burner until this SB 150 gets done? So I would have it all ready for you, all the strategies, and then we would have those 3 topics for next time. Is that what you want, the rationales? There.
Wetlands and rationale.
Yeah, because if we get the rationales, I think that, you know, we got to explain to city council members and staff why we're doing all this stuff. And I've worked on the stuff that we've already approved, but I have not started a rationale for this, and I will then have it for the next time.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get ready.
Appreciate it, Mary.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. You guys are great, really.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we certainly couldn't have done this without you.
Well, I'll tell you another thing. You guys, really on that urban forestry management plan, you did great and really amazing. You know, she got that thing to work by making it a living document.
Yep.
Everything turned out just right last night.
It did. It was a big win.
Oh, and Kay, of course. I mean, Kay was really.
Are we gonna get updates on how it's progressing in the budget process?
Yeah, I can do that.
When the line item is created and
What about the changes to the landscape trust fund ordinance? Will we get to look at that, or will the staff just do that? And then, because it sounded like the council wants it done like right away.
Yeah, I think that's
So-
what Jareen mentioned, that she'd bring it back for council review, so.
Will we get to look at it then at our next meeting? Or the council will meet before we
would
do?
meet
So,
before, yeah.
Guess we don't get to look at it then.
No.
We can look at it in the council packet.
I can send it to you too, when it's drafted.
okay, well, nothing else. And this
Mike,
time
you
we're
have a
adjourned.
good summer.
Thank you.
Bill, you have a
too.
good time on wherever you're going. Have a good time.